Good evening and welcome back to Golden Eagle Sports Report.
Tonight we update you on the Marquette men's and women's lacrosse season and sit down with a special guest.
So get ready, Marquette Nation, because Golden Eagle Sports Report starts right now.
Slam dunk! Oh, that's a poster. From the Jeannie Hayes Virtual Studio at Marquette University, this is Golden Eagle Sports Report.
Marquette gets the rebound, and the champions have gone down!
Hello, everybody. I'm Tyler Peters.
And I'm Kylie Getz. The Marquette men's lacrosse team welcomed in Air Force to Valley Fields on Saturday.
Although redshirt first-year attacker Luc Blanc records his first career hat trick, Air Force goes on a 7-1 run in the first half en route to a 16-9 victory over Marquette.
The Golden Eagles dropped their third straight game with conference play starting April 2nd when they welcome in the Providence Friars.
Yeah, they definitely scored a lot of goals in that game, but an unfortunate loss. But the weekend wraps up with Marquette women's lacrosse team taking on Central Michigan University on Sunday.
Coming off a 2-game road loss, Golden Eagles come out ready to protect their home field. Kristen Parisi takes us to the action.
On a cold and gloomy day in Milwaukee, the Marquette women's lacrosse team is ready to bring the heat. Hoping to snap a 2-game losing streak and welcoming in the Central Michigan Chippewas, the Golden Eagles are ready to roll at Valley Fields. A high-scoring affair in the first quarter sees both teams coming from behind to knot things up at 6 at the first buzzer. The second quarter is a defensive battle with 7 total goals and Marquette outscoring Central Michigan 4-3 and taking a 10-9 advantage into halftime. The third quarter is all Golden Eagles as Marquette outscores the Chippewas 5-0 with Shea Garcia scoring 2 in the frame, extending their lead to 15-9. Central Michigan attempts a comeback in the fourth quarter, but Marquette stands strong down the stretch to pick up the win, 19-13.
Really proud of our team today. I think we fought really hard. It was a true team win. Every single player from the bench to the field had an impact on the game, and we need that.
The Golden Eagles were led by senior midfielder Lydia Faust, who ends the day with 5 total goals, with 3 of them coming in the first quarter.
I think I worked this week on finishing my shots. I've had issues this season just putting it in the back of the net, and I think once I went by someone, I just really looked to capitalize on that opportunity and not turn the ball over because that hurts my teammates.
First-year goalkeeper Brenna Nixon ends the day with 6 saves after she replaces Amanda Rumsey in the second quarter.
She was ready. She's, being a backup goalie, it's hard. You always have to be ready for whatever's happening, and our starter just wasn't feeling it in the first quarter. Happens, but Brenna gets called on. She was ready. She crushed it.
The Golden Eagles are back in action next Saturday when they travel to Yukon to take on the Huskies. Reporting from Valley Fields, I'm Kristen Parisi, Marquette Wire Sports.
The Marquette women's basketball team hosts Toledo in the Sweet 16 rounds of the Women's National Invitational Tournament.
With the season on the line, senior forward Chloe Murata puts up a career-high 28 points.
But is that enough to send the Golden Eagles to the Elite 8? Molly Gretzok has the answer.
It's win or go home. The Marquette women's basketball team and the Toledo Rockets are set to face off in the Sweet 16 round of the Women's National Invitational Tournament. The fast-paced game begins with Toledo firing away, getting out to a 19-10 lead. The Gold Eagles respond to get within 3 heading into halftime.
Both teams almost scored, 50 in the first half? I mean, both teams were hitting. And so, it was a shootout.
Marquette is able to claim its first lead of the game in the third quarter after a 10-0 run. But the Rockets' offense continues to make shot after shot, securing an Elite 8 spot with a final score of 92-82. and officially ending the Golden Eagles season.
It's a coach's worst post-game talk when you don't get to come to practice tomorrow. So I just, obviously there's a lot of stuff in the game that didn't go great for us, but I think, just for some perspective, you always want to, just have a sense of gratitude and appreciation for the season.
Despite the outcome, senior forward Chloe Murata puts up a career high of 28 points.
You got to take advantage of the way that they were defending. They put a smaller player on Lauren, and in the beginning when I noticed that, you kind of take advantage of the bigger players, and if they're not guarding you, you got to be confident, shoot the ball, and that's what the coaches are telling me, and that's what I got to do.
Graduate student guard Carissa McLaughlin and sophomore forward Liza Carlin both put up 16 points as well. Reporting from the Al McGuire Center, I'm Molly Grutzlock, Marquette Wire Sports.
Last 6 years donning blue and gold, women's basketball forward Lauren Van Clunen joins us for an exclusive live interview next.
Before we celebrate the freedom most Americans have, we must fight for the freedom all Americans deserve. Because all lives can't matter until Black lives matter.
There are a lot of ways to reach out to a friend about their mental health. Learn how you can help at seizetheawkward.org.
Meet the Scan, a simple procedure whose mission is to detect lung cancer early.
I'm here to save you.
But I feel fine.
That's great, but you may still be at high risk for lung cancer.
Oh man, that's a new fence.
If you smoke, early detection could save your life. Learn more at savedbythescan.org.
It all can get so out of control. Sometimes you can lose your faith, you can lose your mind, lose your grip, get stripped of your pride till you don't know how you're gonna stay alive. Hey, hey, I got you. I will give you what you need, and I'll be right there. I got your back. I got you.
And we're back in Studio 7 as we would like to welcome in basketball graduate student forward Lauren Van Clunen. Lauren, it's great to have you back on the show. This is your third time.
Yes, it's great to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, definitely. So let's get right into it. This season being your last of collegiate play, that is, what was the mindset going into it for you?
I would say probably just enjoying every moment. I think so much, you only get your 4 years, and luckily I got the chance to have 2 extra ones. So I understood as a 6-year coming back how important that was to myself and to my team. And I just wanted to leave everything I could out there on the floor, and I definitely think I did that.
And talking kind of more about this season, although you guys did not get, win a championship in the WNIT,
yeah.
What was it like playing those final postseason games at the Al McGuire Center? Coach Duffy has told us before that you love playing there. So what was that like for you?
It was unbelievable. Just to be able to play in front of a Marquette Nation and my family and my friends. And it was something that, we didn't necessarily have last year. So to be able to have that chance and to be able to do that was huge. To have the fans come out, to have the support from other athletes. Unbelievable. To have the last game as a whiteout. Just it shows that camaraderie that Marquette Nation has and Marquette University has, and that's why you ultimately come to Marquette.
And kind of talking about your time overall here at Marquette, has it lived up to everything you hoped it would be over your 6 years?
I think even more. I absolutely think even more. When you commit, you don't know what you're necessarily getting yourself into, but I trusted the staff. That was Coach Keeger before, and then obviously when Coach Duffy came through, and started her tenure here, I trusted her too. So it's lived up to any expectations I ever had. The people I've met, the memories I've made, you know, the opportunities I've had has been unbelievable.
And then kind of talking about that a little bit more, over the years you've kind of developed this signature hook shot move. Did you ever envision that becoming a part of your career?
Not at all, honestly. I think, you know, just each year you try to get better some way, somehow. And that was something that kind of continuously throughout the year, just this remained the same with me, try to be consistent with that. And that's just, you know, trying to get better every year. And that's what I tried to do. And then, you know, ultimately add to my game in other ways as well throughout my years here.
Talking about adding to your game in other ways, like you just said, who's been your biggest mentor over the last 6 years? Is it a player, a coach, both?
Man, yeah, I would say honestly, coaching staff. You know, between Coach Keeger and then I think personally also Coach Duffy and Coach Justine Ratterman. They've elevated my game to a place I never anticipated it going, and just the trust and the you know, the consistency that they've had with me day in and day out, I think was huge and something I'm so glad to be a part of. And I think that's what ultimately took my game to the next level.
Yeah, and then you've accomplished a lot in your career here, obviously, but is there a specific moment where you go, that is going to be something I'm going to remember for the rest of my life?
One specific moment. That's a great question. I would probably say senior day. Senior day, absolutely taking it all in, soaking it all in. When I walked down in front of my, with my family, in front of my teammates, in front of my best friends, in front of the crowd that we had at the Al McGuire Center, I realized, gosh, this is a special place at Marquette University, and just the importance of, you know, the camaraderie that we have, the unity that we have on this team. And with this program, I know that I'm going to be a part of this program for the rest of my life. I'm going to forever be a Golden Eagle, and just how much respect and how much you know, passion I have for this university, I think really, really shows.
And then over the last 6 years, which season would you rank number one?
Number one. God, that's another good question. You're good with this. I would probably, this might be different than a lot of people would say. I would say my redshirt year, just from the standpoint of the mindset and the mental capacity that it took for me to get there. And just how, you know, physically you have to be locked in to be able to be as best as you can be. But I would have to say, aside from that, probably the year before last year, so my sophomore year, just, you know, having the chance to be in the NCAA tournament, going down, making it to the second round. I don't know if I can pinpoint necessarily one season. All of them have been phenomenal in different ways. But those definitely stick out to me. And then obviously this year, just, you know, having that double WNIT run here at the Al McGuire Center has been unbelievable, and playing with my best friends, my teammates, definitely, I'll have to say all 6 seasons, honestly.
Certainly a lot to take in over 6 years.
Yeah.
And you talked about it earlier about senior day being one of your favorite, you know, most memorable games, but what about any fun moments you've had here during your time at Marquette? Was there any particular trip you had as a team maybe, or something like that?
I would say, honestly, we had the chance to go to Australia. It was my sophomore year, just a foreign trip. And just to be able to see the world and see it, you know, with your best friends, see it with your teammates, go to play games against a bunch of different teams than the teams you're playing in the conference or your typical non-conference schedule that you do. Just to have that chance and, again, that opportunity because of Marquette basketball was definitely unbelievable to be a part of.
Definitely. And then what does the future look like for Lauren Van Clunen? We just saw on Twitter earlier that the WNBA just released a list of eligible players that can be drafted, and your name was a part of that list.
Yes.
So what does the future entail?
Yes, so I did obviously announce that I'm going to qualify for the draft. And then hopefully, depending on what happens with that, I'm going to go play overseas. Right now, I'm just doing also a local coaching with a local AAU program as well, so I'm going to get into that a little bit. And then, yeah, the plan is to play overseas for as long as possible. I think to experience the world, play the game that you love, and, you know, see different things is a great opportunity for me to do, and I'm going to take full advantage of it.
All right, well, we wish you the best of luck going forward, but that's all the time we got for right now. Thank you again for coming on the show. We really do appreciate it.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, no problem. When we come back, will a Big East team win the NCAA tournament title? Plus, anticipated changes in the NFL finally take place. All that and more after the break.
awkward. I'm the awkward silence. You try to avoid me, then there I am again.
But an awkward silence can be a great thing.
Like Kelly here is about to demonstrate.
You haven't really been yourself lately. Are you okay?
Find out how you can help a friend with their mental health at seizetheawkward.org.
After you joined our family, it was like, I really do feel complete now.
Before we celebrate the freedom most Americans have, we must fight for the freedom all Americans deserve. Because all lives can't matter until Black lives matter.
I'm Jenny Garth, and as a mother of 3, I know kids worry about a lot of things. Getting enough food to eat shouldn't be one of them. But here in America, that is a real worry for 1 in 5 children. This is unacceptable, and something Feeding America is working to solve. Through a nationwide network of food banks, Feeding America serves virtually every community in the United States, including yours. See how you can help your community. Visit feedingamerica.org. Together, we can solve hunger. Together, we're Feeding America.
Roll over. When you adopt a shelter pet, you discover all the things that make them unique.
And your mother.
They're a little bit of a lot of things, but they're all pure love.
Every day,
millions of people are connecting. Father,
cosplayer,
mentor,
actor. It's time we take a step forward, come together,
and discover
how accepting our differences can make us stronger.
We're back in Studio 7 as we will discuss the March Madness, Final Four, and NFL rule changes and more. Joining me on the panel tonight is Kristen Precy, Matt Yazel, and London Davis. Let's get started. March has been full of upsets and madness. We are now down to the Final Four for both tournaments. With that, who will win it all?
Well, I'll start with the women's side, and I'm going to say the Big East team, UConn. And I know this year it's a little different with UConn. They're only a 2 seed. Normally, they're everybody's pick to win it all, basically. But this year, they finally have Paige Beckers back, and they made it to the Final Four. How about that game last night against NC State? Double overtime, arguably the best game of the season in women's basketball. And I just think they're back at full form now. I think if they had Paige Beckers all year, they'd probably be a 1 seed. A lot more people may be picking them. But I really like what I saw from UConn last night. Paige Beckers dropping 27 points. It's going to be tough first round against Stanford. Not first round, but in the Final Four. Yeah. And then a potential matchup against South Carolina or Louisville. But I'm going to pick UConn. And then on the men's side, I'm going to go with Kansas. I'm going to say they beat the Big East team on the men's side. And I just really, really like what I've seen from Kansas. They had a rough first half against Miami, who a bit of a surprise them getting there. But then they just completely flipped a switch in the second half and completely dominated. One of the best players in the country, in Ojai Abaji, who's been playing great in this tournament. And I just think this is the year for Kansas.
Good ideas. But South Carolina for the women's team probably is going to win it all. I mean, you've seen Aaliyah Boston obviously up for National Player of the Year, but then they also have Destiny Henderson, Bria Beal, Zia Cook. They have so much depth to them. And after last year's Final Four loss to Stanford, when Aaliyah Boston missed the game-winning tip-in, you could see as soon as it happened, she started crying. You know that playing against Haley Jones and Fran Belibi, who are her friends, you have that bad taste in your mouth. So I think you've seen it throughout the entire tournament. They've blown out teams left and right. They are so dominant. And obviously I think Stanford is going to go back and they're going to try to defend their national title because you've seen Lexi Hull, Haley Jones, Cameron Brink, even Anna Wilson. You've seen how dominant that team has been. And UConn and Stanford is going to be such a great game. But I don't know how UConn is going to feel because last year against Arizona, they didn't do very well at all in that game, and everyone had them going all the way, but they haven't won a national championship in 6 years, since 2016 when Brianna Storr won 4 in a row there.
For them, that's an eternity.
Yeah, that's for them. You might think like, oh wow, 8 years not that, 6 years aren't that long, but it's Gino Auriemma wants to get back there. Yeah. And then for the men's side, I know it's probably not going to be the favorable pick, but I have North Carolina. They've shown that they probably shouldn't have been an 8 seed in the tournament this year. I mean, obviously they blew out Marquette, and then they obviously beat St. Peter's, which everyone was rooting for. But I just think that UNC has just done so well this year, and they want to go back against Duke, and they don't want Coach K to go take the national championship in his last year. So UNC all the way.
In London?
Over on the women's side, I gotta go with the underdogs in Louisville.
Oh.
I have to.
Van Leith, good idea.
I have to. The tenacity that they play with against Michigan in the last game, that 12-point win, it was amazing.
Yeah,
I didn't expect it from them. As for the men's side, I gotta go with Kansas easily. That 26-point obliteration to Miami, man. We seen them beat them on both sides of the court, defensively, offensively. Like you said, they struggled in the first half, but they really picked it up and they flipped the switch and they got it going and they got in that rhythm. And I think if they can do that further on within this, they can win it all.
Yeah, I definitely agree. But personally, for me, for the women's team, I have Stanford. I think that they are going to be the underdogs coming into this game against UConn.
Really?
Yes,
I think they're going to be the underdogs.
I think they are. I think they have a lot of UConn fans rooting for them. I think Stanford is just going to pull through. I mean, their defense is just a powerhouse. They're not going to stop just Paige Beckers. I think they're just going to demolish her.
One thing I forgot to mention, Final Four this year on the women's side is in Minneapolis.
Yeah.
Where's Paige Beckers from?
Minneapolis. Her entire high school.
Like I said, they are going to be the underdogs.
That quote yesterday, she said, "It's win or go home, but I won it. I'm still going home." Awesome, but I don't know.
And for the men's, I will have to say Duke. I will have to say Coach K will need his one last win going out of this season. But switching it over, there are 2 Big East teams remaining. For the men's, it's Villanova, and for the women's, it's UConn. Does this go to show how competitive the Big East Conference is for both men's and women's?
I think not even just these 2 teams. I mean, you saw Creighton going in for the women's side. They were definitely really big underdogs for Iowa, and although I wasn't really that surprised that Iowa lost early, they also went to the Elite 8, their first time in school history. So it's not just UConn, it's not just Villanova, but you can see how well and how competitive these teams are, that it's built them up. I mean, even Chloe Murata said after the WNIT Sweet 16 loss that playing these teams in the Big East gets them ready for all of these outside conference teams. And I think for years you've seen how the Big East is kind of just under the radar, but I think they're a really big powerhouse, and you've seen, and people have saw that UConn and Villanova and Creighton, and even for the Marquette women's team, they're such a great team. They were in the NCAA tournament last year, so it's just the Big East Conference is growing, and I think it's great to see that they're getting the recognition now that they deserve.
I agree. And London? Absolutely.
It's great for the Big East. They're turning heads, and we love to see that, especially Marquette, like you said. It's just the turning heads part. Everybody now is interested in what's next. We really want to find out what's really going to go on and how far they can really go.
I think particularly on the men's side, this conference really, nobody knew what to expect from a lot of the teams in the Big East, including obviously Marquette. It was just a lot of question marks all over the place. Yeah, where did Providence come from?
When Georgetown last year, and then they were nowhere to be found this year. But that's
absolutely
a whole
nowhere.
That's a whole other story.
At the end of the day, though, I mean, Villanova is, the headliner of the conference. They're the reason that the Big East is going to get more and more respect, is them reaching another Final Four, potentially winning another national championship. But I believe, 7 Big East teams making the tournament this year, a lot more than people expected. And on the women's side, as you mentioned, the Creighton making a run and Villanova surprising some people this year on the women's side. I think overall, great year of Big East basketball for sure.
For sure.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And moving forward, changes are coming in the NFL. The league now allows both teams an opportunity to possess the ball in overtime. However, this rule only applies to the games played in postseason. Do you think this change is good or bad?
I really love the change. I like the integration. Over the last decade or so, the teams in overtime to win the coin flip are 10-2, and it's really surprising. And I not necessarily surprising, but I think it just carries in with the momentum that the teams take into the overtime, and I think it's a fighting chance for the other team.
I think it's about time for this to happen. I mean, we saw last year, I think the final straw was that Bills-Chiefs game where, I mean, both teams going back and forth. Yes. And as soon as the Chiefs won the coin toss, we knew they were going to win the game. I mean, let's be honest here. But you had to feel for Josh Allen and the Chiefs there. But I know as a Packer fan, a lot of postseason losses in my life have been a result of that rule and a result of our bad defense. But I think it's just a great rule addition for the playoffs in general. I honestly would have liked to see it in the regular season as well, but I think where it matters the most is the playoffs. I mean, that's entire seasons on the line. So I think it's a great rule for football, and it will prevent games like that, the Bills and Chiefs, from ending on that kind of note.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a great addition. Obviously, the Bills-Chiefs game, that was just, everyone was like, it's such a great game. Why does it have to end on a coin toss? You work your way up, you come back from behind, and then you lose a coin toss, and then you obviously are going to probably end up losing the game. But I think it could even take a step forward because both teams will get a chance, but then the next team that scores will end up winning the game. So I think it could take a step further and get the college football overtime rules where everyone gets a chance, and then it could just like keep going back and forth. But why keep it to postseason?
I don't know about that, about the college rules though, because like why are we starting so close to the end
zone?
Maybe
not starting close, but having like everyone at every time you get a chance, like each person gets a possession, and then if you score, and then you like it's not just like next score wins. You know?
Yeah, I get that. Everyone always says go to the college rules, and I'm like, you don't even have to advance the ball to be in field goal range. You know, you start so close to the end zone already. So
it's a start.
It's
a start because they need to change a lot of rules in the NFL. The stupid taunting rule they can do away with that. They can do away with a lot of stuff. But I think it's going to be good for everyone in the NFL. It's going to be fun to watch in the playoffs because you're like, oh wow, it's not going to end in like 2 seconds when the next person goes and just runs it down the field.
Yeah, I can definitely agree. I mean, as Matt mentioned, I would like to see it in regular season play, but like you said, playoffs is where it really matters. I mean, that's when you train the whole season for it. It's all on the line. And just to kind of get it ripped away so easily like that, just by kind of the unequality, I would almost say, if that makes sense. Just not being able to get a fair share. But yeah, I think that's a great new addition to the NFL, and I'm really excited to see how it kind of turns around this upcoming season. And you know, what if they happen to do change it to regular season play? What do you guys think that's going to happen? Will it change most games?
I mean, I think the NFL more than other leagues, you have the regular season matters maybe slightly more, just because there's less games.
All the ties end up like it's like so many tiebreakers, and like you have ties, and it's like. It's gonna just easier if it doesn't end in a tie. You just decide a game. Like I think they should go away with doesn't end one overtime, do a tie, because then it makes it more fun. And you know, it's just, I don't know.
I'm just glad we're seeing the NFL take the steps and the progress to make things better, because changes do need to happen, and I'm glad that they're taking the initiative to do so.
It goes to show enough bullying from fans can get things done because they've been after this for a while.
All right. Well, thanks for the great discussion. We're out of time, but be sure to tune in next Tuesday for all of our coverage of Marquette sports and more. For Tyler Peters, I'm Kylie Getz. Good night, Marquette.
No margin for error. Dare to forget that. Dare to have fun with it. Get weird with it. Dare to load their minds. Dare to explore. Dare to STEM. Learn more at She Can STEM.
Before we celebrate the freedom most Americans have, we must fight for the freedom all Americans deserve. Because all lives can't matter until Black lives matter.